Hey, how's it going, Bible Talk family? Welcome back to Bible Talk. Um, Today we are going to get through chapter 30 of Genesis. I meant to get it a couple days ago, but as I'm sure everyone's aware, life, time, everything goes so fast. Work and a kid and everything. But that being said, I'm excited to get through this tonight and continue on at a faster pace now that things are starting to get back to normal. So that being said, let's jump into this. And yeah, I'm excited to go through Genesis 30. Genesis 30. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I will die." I find it interesting that she said that to Jacob because, interestingly enough, as we'll see, giving him children is going to be the thing that kills her. And so many times I feel like we want something that maybe we feel God isn't giving us, but it's in reality, it's because he sees that there's something better for us, that if he would give us this thing that we want, that it could actually harm us or not be good for us. And I just feel like that's the little children in us coming out every once in a while. We want, but God knows all, and he promises that all things work together for good for those of us who are called and who love him. And so this is a good reminder. Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children?" Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family through her." So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son." Because of this, she named him Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." So she named him Naphtali, which means struggle or winning. But I just find it interesting. This is what happens when we don't get what we want. We try to put things into our own hands. And now we're going to see this battle between these sisters. And as we see, Rachel is in this constant struggle. And because of that, she's giving up her husband, so to speak, to these other women. And she feels like it's just a competition, when in reality, it doesn't do anything but cause them so much problems. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. See, now we see the sister doing the same thing, giving up her servants. And here Jacob is just, okay. So some of you might be thinking, what's going on here? And you got to understand something about guys. And, he's just taking what comes his way. There's this battle going on. He's just along for the ride. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "What good fortune!" So she named him Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, How happy I am. The woman will call me happy." So she named him Asher. Oh man, there's just children everywhere. During wheat harvest, Reuben went out into the fields and found some mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." So mandrakes are like, they kind of look a little bit like a strawberry. And it's believed the roots of a mandrake actually, in Bible times, was believed to help women be fertile and also an aphrodisiac. So it was believed that this plant, the root of this plant, would help you conceive. And so that's why she wanted them here. And because of that, these plants, they sold at a very high price because of this. And so people would sell them for a lot of money because of the nature of the plant and what people believed it could do. But she said to her, "Wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?" "Very well," Rachel said. "He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." So Jacob, man, just, I feel like he's getting tired at this point. "Very well," Rachel said. "He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. "You must sleep with me," she said. "I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son. This is interesting. Rachel tried to get ahead. Rachel tried to pull one over by getting these mandrakes, and so she said Leah could sleep with Jacob, and in doing so, Leah was actually the one that became pregnant. I just find so often that's what it's like for us. We try to do something to get ahead, and in reality, sometimes the complete opposite happens. I'd say more times than not, the complete opposite happens of what we want or what we think is going to happen by us being so smart and scheming and trying to get ahead of competition, and in reality, most of the time, the opposite will happen. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, "God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband." So she named him Ishkar. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said, "God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor, because I have borne him six sons." So she named him Zebulun. So she's still trying to get Jacob to honor her, love her, and just be that husband that she wants. And it still is not working. And there's a lot of life lesson, a lot of lesson in that. That you can't force things on people. You know, people won't change unless they want to change, no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what the situation is. And it's a great lesson to learn, because a lot of times we have loved ones, we have people that we want so desperately to change, and advice and doing things for people is great and it's needed, because there is no repentance without conviction. But at the same time, if somebody doesn't want to change, they're not going to ever feel that or listen to what you have to say. But sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. Whenever it says then God, it's not like he forgot about Rachel. It's just meaning this is like going back to Rachel. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She named him Joseph and said, "May the Lord add to me another son." Joseph means add to another. So she finally is able to give birth, and the first thing she does is say, "All right, time for another one." I feel like I wouldn't want to be named that. Okay, on to the next, pretty much. Okay, good, but not enough. That's how I take it. And that's what we do. You know, we try to get that promotion, that new job, that new house, that new car, and we get it, and we say, what's next? And in a culture, in a time where everything is so instant gratification, it's causing a lot of harm to marriages, to relationships, to our workers, everything is, everybody wants a hand, everybody wants the next thing, everyone, okay, I got this, what's next? And this is what we see in this picture right here. May the Lord add to me another son. After she was waiting so long to finally have a son, she had a son and said, okay, time for another one. That's just like us, isn't it? After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. So now Jacob has been here for 14 years, over 14 years, because he had to work 7 years for Rachel, but he ended up with Leah. Remember, he woke up and said, "Whoa," when Leah was the one sleeping next to him. So then he had to work another 7 years. And so now here he is saying, okay, I've been here for so long. Let me go back to my homeland. Let me go back to my homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you. But Laban said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination, or this word here in the King James, that doesn't mean it means experience. So it says, I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me because of you. And we talked about this already. If you missed it, go back and check out that video. It's a short 5-minute video just about working for Laban, the Labans of the world. He added, name your wages and I will pay them. Jacob said to him, you know how I have worked for you and how your livestock has fared under my care. The little you had before I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. So now he's pointing out, the Lord has blessed you because I'm here. He goes on to say, but now, when may I do something for my own household? What shall I give you? He asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied, but if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. So now we see the scheming coming out of both these guys here. They're both going to scheme and try to get what they want through their own means. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied. This is verse 31. But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled and spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. So these are the ones. I love this story because this is a picture of what Jesus does. You know, Jesus goes through and he finds us who are speckled and spotted, which are considered to be the lambs that nobody wants. They're the flawed lambs. You know, they're the ones that are born with a defect, so to speak, in these people's eyes. They will be my wages, and my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on the wages you have paid me. So he's also saying, you can come and see the wages by what I have. And my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on your wages and have paid for me. Any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark-colored, will be considered stolen. So here we go. Here's the scheme coming. Agreed, said Laban. Let it be as you have said. That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark-colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. So now we see Laban, he took them all out previously and gave them to his sons, who went ahead on a 3-day journey. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob, however, took fresh-cut branches from popular almond and plant trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peel. So now we see Jacob, he has an idea, and so, which we're going to see later, that this idea actually came from God in a dream. And so, but because he's listening to it, God is going to bless him through his hard work. And even though it seems like a silly thing to do, God is going to say, you know, I've told you to do this thing. You're being obedient. You're working hard at it. I'm going to come through here. Bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they mated in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. So this has been said that there's been people who have said that maybe there was a chemical inside the plant and the water that caused the animals to go in heat, or that this is an idea of, monkey see, monkey do. So the animal saw the striped, and so they had striped babies, but that's not likely. And if it was, I mean, we would have a lot of interesting children being born. Somebody would go to the zoo and a baby would come out looking like a monkey. So it's not realistic to think that the animals saw this and that's why they had spotted babies, or that there was any type of chemical. Like I said, Jacob had a dream. God gave him a vision, and he's working at what God told him to do, and God is going to bless what he's doing. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. This would be a trip to look at. I mean, can you imagine just being one of the other workers and just seeing Jacob putting these branches in a watering trough, and then the animals just start mating? Like, I'll be like, what is going on? Like, this is some weird stuff. And then the animals, you take two perfectly white animals, then you come out with speckled, spotted animals. It's like something amazing or something really weird is going on with this water. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks. So God is blessing him here. And female and male servants and camels and donkeys. So that's the end of chapter 30. I'm so excited to get on, because this story, the rest of these stories, man, we're going to get into some awesome stuff. And I'm going to move at a faster pace. But in this story, I'm just reminded that in a few things. One, we look at Jacob's wives and just the messiness that allowing yourself to be a part of other people's lives, other people of the opposite sex lives, it always, every time that polygamy is mentioned in the Bible, it causes conflict, it causes hurt or pain or sin. And some people will use these stories to say, see, God is fine with polygamy, but that's not the case at all. The Bible is just like the news. Well, the Bible is like how the news should be. It's just telling the stories like they are, telling you what took place, what happened. And that doesn't mean that everything is right, because in Genesis, previously in Genesis, God laid out the foundations for a man and woman. Adam and Eve, one man, one woman, two shall become one. But as we go on, we see the effects of sin and what it causes. But second thing we see, Jacob is blessing Laban because of his work. Laban sees that God is with him, so Laban doesn't want him to get away, because this man is blessing Laban. And so Laban's saying, hey, I can see that God is with you, and because of you, I'm being blessed. Please stay. And like I said in my last video, that is how we should be as Christians. And the last thing is just being a hard worker. God never uses anybody in the Bible who is not working, who is not out doing something, who is not working hard. Every person in the Bible who God chooses to use is out doing something, all the way through to the New Testament when Jesus chooses his 12 disciples. And it's great news for me, because I love working hard, and I want to be used by the Lord, and that's my goal, and that's why I'm doing these videos, whether that be through a ministry or not, whether I'm doing what I do for the rest of my life, doesn't matter. If that's what I'm gonna do, then I'll do it full-heartedly and to the best of my ability. And but if something else comes my way, I'll do that full-heartedly and to the best of my ability. So that's all I have for you tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're on to Genesis 31 next week, or starting tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, hopefully you guys have a great night, and until next time.